right, so let's start this part of the lecture slash demonstration in the project that we opened earlier. So that's going to be our GIS Basics Section 1 and 2 map project. You should be able to find it somewhere where you downloaded your data. It'll look like, it'll be in this folder here, and this is what it's called. That's our project file there. So open that up if you don't already have it open. This is where we're going to start, and then we'll get back to our PDF workbook. All right. So what I wanted to do here is I wanted to talk a little bit about the catalog pane and folder connections, geodatabase connections, file connections. And so, as I said earlier, your APRX file doesn't contain the data that's shown on the map. Rather, it contains references to tell you where those are, and it's convenient to be able to see where the data is stored for your map, and so we can do that by adding geodatabases and folders to our project. Now, let's see, a couple things to note. These geodatabases and folders are not part of the project, but they're just connected so we can see them easily along with the project. Okay, so what did I want to say next? What you're going to find, and in pretty much every time I send you an APRX file, sometimes not, but pretty much every time, you're going to find that in your catalog, you're going to see some red exclamation marks, and also on the map, you might see some red exclamation marks. I've got this little arrow here. It's going to allow me to open up the contents. And this is our monthly precipitation data. These red exclamation marks mean that, hey, just a second. It usually happens when you get a file from someone else, but it's like, hey, just a second. I'm trying to find this file, but I don't know where it is. So what I'm going to start by doing, just so that you're able to work in this map, is I'm going to kind of get a little bit ahead of myself and show you how to repair that red exclamation mark. So again, the red exclamation marks, hey, means, hey, the project is looking for this, for example, for this geodatabase, the Parks and Boundaries geodatabase, but it doesn't know where to find it. Let's tell it where to find it. So over here, I've got the data that I downloaded here for the class, and I do have my County Utilities data folder, and inside of that, I've got Parks and Boundaries, road segments, and water infrastructure. Those are all geodatabases. And so back over here in my catalog, my Parks and Boundaries, now I know where it is. It's in the data I downloaded for the class. So I'm going to click, let's see, it's just a standard left click. I'm going to click directly on that exclamation part, and I'm going to tell GIS where to find that. So this is the part that's a little tricky. If you've stored stuff on OneDrive, you're going to have to dig for it a little bit. So let's see here. I've got to go my user, and then Marilyn Nielsen, OneDrive. Okay, so I go to my user, and then I go to my OneDrive for Community Colleges of Spokane. This is just if you've stored your class information on OneDrive, you have to dig for it here. If it's stored on a thumb drive, you'll just navigate to that thumb drive. If it's stored directly on your computer, you'll navigate to it through your operating system, your C drive. But here, there's me, and I'm going to go to my OneDrive, open that up, and I'm going to go to the folder I made for this class. And then I'm going to go into here, into my County Utilities data. And inside of there, I'm looking for Parks and Boundaries. There's Parks and Boundaries. I'm going to hit OK, and that's going to repair the connection. So let's read our little pane here. Your item will be repaired. Yes. Do you also want to repair broken project items, such as map layers that reference this item? Yeah, I do, for sure. So hit yes. Okay, so now I repaired my Parks and Boundaries. Sometimes when you just repair one piece, it is able to find the rest of your links, and sometimes not. So let's see, did it find it did. It found my water infrastructure. So basically, after I told it, hey, this is where Parks and Boundaries is stored, it was like, oh yeah, and look, water infrastructure is there too. But the one thing we don't have yet is my monthly precipitation information. That's here in this folder, and that's still not referenced as far as I can tell, or I need to tell this. So that connection looks okay in my catalog, but still my data here has red exclamation marks. So I'm going to click on the red exclamation mark, and whenever you see the red exclamation mark, the way you're going to fix it, and basically you're just telling the project, this is the file, this is where the file is found. I'm going to click here on January, so you just do a click there, and I'm going to tell it where it is. Well, this is in the folders, and it's in the North America Monthly Precipitation Grid. And if I double click in there, I basically have to get to January data, and it's going to be the January data. I'm going to hit open, and then North America Precipitation January. I'm going to hit OK, and it should update the other ones as well. Fingers crossed. Sometimes raster data is a little bit, there we go. And these are big files, so this might take a minute or more. Okay, so January is fixed. I can look at my monthly precipitation for January. Question is, will it automatically fix the other months? Maybe not. I may have to do those separately. And this also may take a minute to draw because it's a big raster data set. Come on, there you go. So isn't that fun? So in January, this is what precipitation looks like in North America. And this is in millimeters, but you can see where we're getting our most precipitation in January is going to be the Olympic Peninsula. Check that out. We also have decent amounts in the mountains of Northeast Oregon, the Blue Mountains. Some decent amounts in there. And then, of course, the Southern Cascades. Yeah, that's fun. Okay, so then if I want to fix February, I have to tell it, hey, let's take a look at February. And so we'll go to the data. We'll go to, where's February? June, March, May, September. There we go. February. Raster data, you guys, we just talked about it. Raster data is represented as like this kind of little grid symbol. North America precipitation February. This is kind of a pain because they want you to repair all of them, but you can certainly get practice repairing them. And so now if I turn off January and I refresh, I can see what February looks like. Probably not a whole lot different, but it does look like there's a little less precipitation in February in the Olympic Peninsula and less precipitation in general. I'm going to turn the whole layer off, but that's how you repair a red exclamation mark when it shows up in your contents, and then when it shows up over here in your catalog. And basically you're just repairing the file link. Now that that's repaired, and now that we know how to repair those, we can actually work in this project a little bit together. So come along with me. Let's do this. I want to take a look at Spokane County 1. So this project, the name of the project is up here, GIS Basics Section 1 and 2 map. Then over here in the catalog, we have 1, 2, 3 maps in the project. 1, 2, 3 maps. We have 1, 2, 3 connections to geodatabases. And we have, let's see, 1, 2, 3 folders that we're connected to. So I want to open. You can open Spokane County 1 by doing a right click and hitting open. And check it out. So I promised you we would look at this map. But the problem, right, is that I've got these red exclamation marks, so I don't see my culverts or my rivers or my county parks. We looked at this in the last video. Let's go ahead and repair the red exclamation mark by giving it a standard left click, and the culverts is going to be in the databases for this project. Water infrastructure, culverts, click on that, hit OK. So we're just telling it where to find that file. And when it finds one file, it usually finds the rest of them. So this is, I'm going to use my mouse and the scroll ball in the middle of my mouse. I'm going to push it away from myself to zoom in, and then I'm going to click and drag to pull. If those functions aren't working well for you, go ahead and hit the map tab and the explore tab, and or the explore tool. We're going to be going more in depth in these in section 3, but we got to be able to move around the map a little bit to look at some of this. So we can scroll in by pushing the mouse away from us, by pulling the mouse wheel closer so we can zoom out. Okay, so there's all the city parks in Spokane and the county parks around the periphery, the rivers, the culverts. Yay. Okay, so that's fun. We just repaired repaired our places, there's one more repair to make, and I'm going to wait to make this till we've done a little bit of lecturing. So let's open up our workbook, and let's see, get to where we're moving from. Okay, so this is the question, essential question here is, how do I manage files in the catalog pane? Well, the nice thing about the catalog pane is it's going to work very similarly to what you're used to working in Windows. So we can drag and drop things to add them to our project or to move files around. So now let's go back to our map here and over here. So let's say I've got a folder over here, and I've got the downloads I made for the class, and if I were to look at the county utilities data, I guess I added parks and boundaries geodatabase. That's already part of my project. I have water infrastructure, but I haven't added road segments. So this is what I mean by, and I think this is the easiest way to add folder connections. There are other ways, but I pretty much always do it this way because you just drag and drop. So I want to connect to a new geodatabase so I can see what's inside of it and decide if I want to add some of those features to my map. I'm going to click and hold, and I'm going to drag it over to databases. Drop it. Now my road segments are in here. I can minimize this. So that's what I mean by drag and drop. What's inside my road segments? It's just one feature class. Is that feature class a point, polygon, or line? It's line, because we can see that. And now here's another drag and drop. Let's say I want to see roads on the map. Click, hold, drag onto the map. There's other ways to do this too, right? And we're going to work with symbolization and other stuff, but we're trying to focus on file management now, right? But the roads all just showed up in purple. And they're the county roads, because it's county data, so you can see that the city of Spokane, we don't have those roads, but we do have the roads that are in the county, including Spokane Valley, surrounding areas like out by Cheney and whatnot. So, and our roads are all symbolized in purple now. And we're going to worry about symbolization later, but it's kind of fun because you can see the culverts on the roads. It's the light blue dots. So, mess around there, but what I wanted to show you is that drag and drop feature. So, if we go over here, we say, we can drag and drop to add geodatabase connections to the project. We can drag and drop to add feature classes to the map. One thing that I've noticed students trying is sometimes students will try to drag a whole geodatabase onto the map, and they'll be like, oh, well, I want to add this geodatabase to my map. But a geodatabase is it's a storage container. Why would you want to put a storage container on the map? What you want is the things inside the storage container, like maybe you want stormwater structures. That's not on there, so you can drag it. You could also right-click and add to a current map, or you could add to a new map if you wanted to create a new map. So I don't want to create a new map, but if I did, I could click on this. So I can either drag it into a map that exists, or I could right-click and add it to a new map. All right. Let's see. I don't really want stormwater structures, so here they are in the contents. I'm going to right-click on that, and I'm going to remove. Boom. Okay. So just starting to get comfortable with that idea of file management. Let's see. Next. You can also drag and drop to add folder connections to a project, and that's going to operate just the same as you dropped just the same way you dropped a geodatabase on. You can also drop a folder on. All right, we just did some right clicking. So let's say I go into my catalog here, boom, and I right click on culverts. I get options like open table. So it's going to open the attribute table, and I can find out, well, what do we actually know about these culverts? So without even adding it to the map, although culverts was on the map, but I could just do it straight from the catalog, and I can see, all right, we've got comments on the culverts. We've got crossing and assessment, and now some of these have a null, which means the data hasn't been collected for them. If I double click, yeah, I think they're all null. Oh no, we've got numbers that correspond to some sort of code that the county's using. We've got assessment, we've got the crossing type or temp, so looks like roads, comments. What else do we have in the attributes? Inlet buried, so if they did an inspection, partially filled, buried. If you're a water science person, yeah, that's kind of important to know. Then the names of the road that these are found on. Some of these were on Dartford Drive, some of these were on Monroe. Outfalls, culvert size, and of course if you double click it's going to sort them one direction or another. So we've got culvert sizes here. I think that's in inches. And then the year that they were replaced, the structure material, the shape, and the name of the road. So that's cool. We got that from doing a right click. Let's see, what else do we have from a right click? We can add it to the map. We can load the data, and then we can actually like see the attributes that are in this map or in this feature class. So we get lots of different options. We can cut, so that would remove this from the geodatabase. We can paste it in another geodatabase. We can also drag it and drop it into another geodatabase. We can rename it and delete it. So really, like as you learn GIS, it's going to be kind of an exploration. You're doing like a lot of right clicking to see, oh, what are my options when I right click? But you get these fly out menus, and that's useful. We'll learn about the metadata as we get a little farther along, and also the properties of our data. These are kind of useful things, so we can get information about this data here, and that sort of thing. So it's useful to be able to learn about our data that we're working with. What else did I want to show you? So that's right clicking. Menu with many options opens up. Manage feature class here. Okay, folder connections. So folder connections and geodatabase connections are what we're seeing over here. So the project is connected to these different folders. It doesn't mean that the data is part of the project. So if I just send someone this APRX, they won't have the data. They'll just have a red exclamation mark here telling them, hey, where's this data? But it allows us to manage the geodatabases and the folders that have the data for the project just kind of within the APRX. So that is useful. So that's what these are. These are geodatabase connections and folder connections. They're shown over here in the project. So for our folders were connected to 3 different folders here. Those folders are not part of the project. We're just connected to them so we can see them in this window and manage things. And geodatabase connections aren't part of the project, but can see data this way. Okay. See data and manage. Okay, let's take a look at a couple things. We're going to look at a few different features of the catalog here. So let's go back here. So this is what we have in our project. So the catalog has 3 different panes: project, portal, computer, and favorites. So these are folders and databases that we've connected to the project, usually where the project data, where we've stored it so that we can work with it easily. You're also going to see the different maps. So I've made 3 maps for this project. You're going to see toolboxes. If you've created custom tools, you'll see those here. You're also going to see databases for the project. Now we're connected to 4 databases. When we originally started this, we were connected to 3, but then we added the road segments. So we're connected to these geodatabases. They contain data that we could use in the project. Then we also have layouts. So I mentioned that our layouts have kind of the features, we call them the map caller, C-O-L-L-A-R, and that's the information on a map that provides information about the map, like your north arrow, your scale, the date, sources, coordinate system, and who prepared it. We'll jump into those and how we manage those as we continue on, but a layout is what you're going to print or turn into a PDF. So this project just has one layout. And then styles are if you were to define specific font types and colors that you were going to use on a map, that would go here in styles. And then the folders are what we're connected to for folders, and so our raster data is in a folder because this specific type of raster is a type that's stored in a folder. And then I've got another folder that's called vector data that has all sorts of stuff. It's a really big folder that I connected us to. And then we've got locations, and this is if you use something that's called geocoding. It's basically where you take addresses and put them as points on the map. And it's something that we might do in the second class, but it's a little involved, so we're not jumping into that quite yet. But if you were to use that on the map, it's going to show up here in locators. So yeah, so that's what's in the project pane. Let's go to the portal. So first off, are you signed in? If you're not signed in, you're going to want to sign in because you'll have more goodies available to you. So if you're not signed in, you're going to want to sign in here. And so you'll do that by signing in to your Esri account and clicking up here. So the portal gives you access to online data that's hosted through Esri. So you've got my content. This is stuff that I've made, and I can look in this folder and I can see layers that I've made for various reasons, okay? And in fact, lots of maps and layers. So this is going to be layers you could add to a map. This is going to be maps themselves. So this is my content, and this is going to be the default you'll start. If you have not created any online layers, they're not going to show up there. I think some of these must be Dave Stasny's that are saved to mine as well. Let's pull in, let's see. This is kind of something fun we did along the Spokane River near campus. I'll pull that onto the map. You can't do this following along with me because you don't have access to my files, but let's see here. Did that come up? Maybe not quite yet. Oh, because I'm not on a map. Let's go to my map. So this was a layout. It's better to work with layers in a map. So clicked on the map to make it active. I'm going to add in my vegetation 5-foot contours, and that's contours for the trees along the river on campus. So let's go to campus here. Let's see, we're right on the edge of town. Right on the river, there it is. Okay, so this is Spokane Community College campus, and what we did is we created contour lines from the height of the trees right in campus. So that's kind of fun. It's probably about the funnest layer I've got loaded in my content right now. But you're not going to have anything in my content. What you're going to want to go to is over here, right here, and this is just general layers that anybody, any student, any faculty member, any professional working in GIS can just create layers and post them online for people to grab. So what it's important to know is that this data is not, and it's right here where you're going to find most of your stuff, is not curated. This data is not fact-checked. It could be a student just like you just messing around and they posted it online. So always take this with a grain of salt. See who actually created the data before you jump into it. Let's go to the United States map. Let's pull in USA current wildfires. If it doesn't show up for you, you can type in current wildfires. Depending on the time of year, it might be exciting or not. So USA current wildfires. Let's pull this layer onto the map. We know it's a layer because it has that little point symbol. And let's see what it looks like. There we go. Is that fun? Those of you who were fighting fire this last summer might be like, hey, I was on that fire. And let's see what the symbols mean. So usually the data we pull off of the portal here from ArcGIS Online is going to be pre-symbolized for us and have, and have stuff like this. Let's see who actually made this data. And we can look at the properties and see what we can get from it. Metadata. Yeah, so here, source. Okay, it's a feature service class. There's the URL. And the thing that goes on here is we don't actually know who made this data. Now, I have a feeling it's done well. It's probably, you know, it's probably, yeah, probably reliable to some degree, but the problem is without metadata, I don't know whose data is this. Is it, you know, is it Forest Service data? Because that would be reliable. But that's the problem. With data you pull off the portal, it's super cool. It can be really useful. But before you would use it on a map that you would publish or provide to anybody, you would want to know whose data it is. And it looks like this even comes with a time slider, which you can see the fires over time here. Let's see if the slider works. So somebody really spent some time to do a great job on this. February, March, April, May. Okay, when we get into June, we'll really start to get some fires, and especially in July. And then here we are in July. Yeah. So that's kind of fun to see the time slider, and that's kind of fun to mess around with that. But that's the kind of stuff you can get off the portal. And, you know, go ahead, pause me, take 20 minutes, take the next 4 hours and lose yourself in a rabbit hole of all the cool data you can get off the portal. Similarly, data that's available to everyone in the Living Atlas, these tend to be, these are in general curated by Esri, and you'll have things like, let's look at like land cover. It's the kind of information that's kind of general earth layers, including rasters. So we've got Hawaii. Oh, here's USA National Land Cover Dataset Tree Canopy Cover. I could click that and pull it on. It's probably kind of a big layer. But yeah, here we go. So let's turn off the fires for the moment so they don't distract us. Close them with little arrows. And now we can see tree canopy cover across the US. What I have to say is the availability of data through the portal, through the Living Atlas has exploded in the last 5 years, where when I first started teaching GIS, it wasn't really a thing, and now you can find all sorts of really fun stuff. So this is kind of fun, isn't it? Let's kind of bring ourselves to Spokane and check out the resolution. It looks pretty good even at the state level, but check it out. You can see the patchwork of cuts here, can't you? That's cool in Idaho. Yay! And then you can see as we get into the Palouse, we just have areas along rivers that are vegetated. So this is all interpretation from aerial imagery that's modeled. So that's super fun. I like that layer too. All right. Oh gosh, this data, you know, it gets really fun. So I just wanted to show you the portal. That little taste is probably enough to like whet your appetite. You're like, oh, I want to know how to use this stuff. I want to be making the maps. Okay. This is just added in the latest version of Pro, and that is that you can actually see the same stuff that you see in your, if I were to go to my, well here, let me just open a new one. Look, if I were to open Windows Explorer, look, it looks like that, and I can get the same thing in the catalog. So it'll show you just what's on your computer, and that's super useful. If I wanted to, I could go, if I want to find my OneDrive, I'm going to find it under Me, and then in Community Colleges of Spokane. The same thing for you. That's where you'll find your OneDrive. So here, if I wanted to connect to something for the class, I could come in here, and I could right-click, and I could add it to the project. So I showed you how to drag and drop. You can also add folder connections and geodatabase connections by hitting add to project, and they will show up. So that's super useful, and that's brand new. The next thing I want to show you in the catalog, so much to see, so exciting, file management. Did you even know what we were getting into? This, you probably don't see anything here, so I'm going to go ahead and remove this. When you open up your favorites, you're not going to see anything. This is where you can put folders that you're going to be going back to again and again. When you set up favorites, it's going to follow you from project to project. So not just in this project, but if you establish something as your favorite, the next time you open a new project and you go to your favorites, those folders are going to be there. I think we should favorite our folder for the class, don't you? So I'm going to add a folder. I can do that this way, and what I can do is I'm going to navigate to my folder for the class, which is my demonstration files. I'm just going to click on the whole thing and hit OK. And so that's my folder for the class. I just made it a favorite. It means that every time I'm on this computer and I open up a new project, it's going to show up in my favorites, and that way I can easily get to folders that I might want to connect to. I can right click and add to my project. Okay? So that's a lot. What I would like you to do is go ahead and connect to your class folder here for sure. Let's go take a look back at our notes. I take some comfort knowing that you can pause the demonstration at any time to kind of redo, kind of explore a little bit deeper. So I'm going to keep moving knowing that you can pause at any time that you want to just kind of see something again. So I just walked you through the options in the catalog pane. They're super cool, especially this new one that you can actually go into your computer. Your favorites. Connect here to folders that you will want to use again and again. These favorites will show up in every new project you create. So, even though file management sounds really boring, I hope you're just like a little bit excited right now, because we kind of did some boring stuff, but we got into some fun stuff. The last but not least, what are you going to do if your catalog pane disappears? I definitely have students that get like, help, if they accidentally, and you may not even realize you did it, you're like, oh no, where's my catalog? How can I even add anything to my map? What if oh no, how can I do anything? I'm like stuck now. I can't do anything. Help. I can't even turn layers on or off or add anything to the map. This is ruined. I should just give up right now. No, you should not. Here's where you're going to go. You're going to go to View. And then you can choose what you want to view. You can add your catalog pane back. You can add your contents pane back. There's also this reset panes, and it'll, like if I set reset panes for geoprocessing, it's going to add my geoprocessing pane here. I'm not doing that right now, but the most important thing is you go to View, Catalog Pane, or Contents Pane. Those will come back up, and yay, right? Because sometimes you need those. Okay, this was fun. Okay, so I showed you how to do that. And then we just spent a boatload of time fixing red exclamation marks, and you're like, just a second. So you get the red exclamation mark if Pro is looking for a file that's supposed to be part of the project. It can't find it where it used to be. So a lot of times, if I send you something, or if I've zipped something up for you, the project is looking, it's like, well, I used to see that on the teacher's computer, but now I'm looking for it on your computer, it's not there. So you have to tell it where to go. So, probably 70% of the time to 90% of the time, when you open up a project that I've created, like I've started it for you, you'll find red exclamation marks, and that's the reason why, if the file path isn't the same. Let's see. So ArcGIS Pro signals this issue with a red exclamation mark. This is known as a broken link. All right. And so I already showed you how to fix the red exclamation mark. Let's do it one more time now that we've got a little bit more experience with the demonstration. So we're going to go back to our project, and I left one for us. I'm going to turn off the canopy cover. It was beautiful, but I'm just going to turn it off for now. I'm going to go back to Spokane County. No, this is the United States. I'm going to go back to Spokane County because projection works. So here's Spokane County. That's the layout. Never mind. The map. Spokane County. We added our tree data along the campus riparian area. I'm going to turn that off for now, and we're just going to look at the whole county area and what I wanted you guys to notice. So I'm using the scroll ball to move us in and out. If you're having problems navigating around, go to your map tab and the explore tool. That's going to give you the hand tool that lets you move around. All right. But I'm missing my Spokane County layer here. It's supposed to give me the boundaries of the county. So I'm going to go back to my project in the catalog, and I'm going to look in my databases, and I'm going to look at Parks and Boundaries. Probably has a Spokane County layer. There it is, Spokane County. So I figured out where that layer, where the feature class for that layer is located. Great. Now I'm going to click on the red exclamation mark, and I'm going to go into my databases for the project, Parks and Boundaries, and it's the Spokane County. I'm going to hit OK, and it should repair that. And there we go. Now we've got a black line around the county. Yay. We should be saving. We should have saved before now. Here's our little save button. It just means save the project. And it's going to save it right where you opened it from. Okay, so you save it, it's going to save it right where you opened it from. And let's see here. What else did you need to know? Got it, that's fine. So then let's see, you're going to left click on the red exclamation mark. And the red exclamation mark. There we go. And that's how you're going to repair it. So that just kind of walks you through it. You just did that. So you guys have the basics of file management now. You really have kind of the basics of what you need in order to move forward, manage files, and work in GIS. Yay, this is exciting because if we start with a good foundation of managing files, we can have a lot more fun doing kind of the creative and analytical side of things. But it's like meat and potatoes. Got to brush your teeth before you can get braces. So we're doing the meat and potatoes, and then we're going to jump into some stuff that's a little bit more fun. But I hope you see some of those possibilities. As I said earlier in section 1, I'm not going to go through the terms with you, but I expect you to be able to fill those in. They'll help you kind of keep your vocabulary straight. And then we've got a few activities associated here, a couple tasks, and you'll have the opportunity to turn these in on Canvas. So you're going to, these are things that we did during the demonstration. So you're going to take a screenshot of the repaired links that you've got. So we're going to, a screenshot of your contents here that has no red exclamation marks. That's great. You're going to show me your default storage location, the folder you made for the class, and how you're going to, your default storage. So that's going to look like coming in here, your project, you went to your options and general, create projects, and you're just going to show me here what you did here. So take a screenshot showing where you're going to be saving your projects. What else are you going to show me? Last task. You're going to connect to your class folder in the favorites tab, and we did that. You're just going to show me that. So I'm going to cancel out of there, go back. If you click on your favorites, you're just going to show me that you're connected here to your class folder, whatever you called it. And yeah, and then you'll put those up on Canvas, and then I've got an opportunity for you to check yourself, like, hey, you can come back here and be like, do I really understand what she just talked about in the last several videos? This was thick stuff, but check yourself and see if you remember. Maybe put things aside for like half a day and then come in and try this. And then if you want some more resources that talk about this topic, similar topics, I've linked to a few different videos here that kind of provide a little bit more depth or a little different approach to looking at file management in Pro. So thanks so much for sticking with me through section 2. It's probably one of the, like when I mentioned, one of the thickest sections in this workbook, and it's a lot of new stuff when you haven't really had much exposure. But it's going to give you a great foundation, and I will see you soon.